There's something about a person who walks with God that unsettles the atmosphere. It shifts rooms. It stirs spirits. It awakens conviction in the hearts of the comfortable. You don't even have to say a word. Just your presence. Just your pursuit of righteousness. Just the oil on your life makes demons nervous and people uncomfortable. You didn't ask for it. You didn't manufacture it. But when you walk with God, you carry something that demands attention. You see, when the light walks into a dark room, the darkness doesn't just sit there, it reacts. And some people aren't uneasy because you've done them wrong. They're uneasy because you remind them of what they've chosen to ignore. Your integrity convicts their compromise. Your faith highlights their fear. Your obedience exposes their rebellion. You didn't come to start a fight, but when you walk with the fire of God on your life, the enemy starts one against you. There's a reason why you feel tension in the room. When you show up, you aren't trying to be intimidating. You aren't trying to be loud or confrontational. You are just being faithful. But the moment you walked in, something shifted. The atmosphere changed. Conversations paused. Eyes turned. Spirits reacted. That's not a coincidence. That's presence. And it's not your presence. It's the presence of the one who walks with you. You carry something greater than charisma. You carry the oil of God. And that oil speaks louder than any introduction. You don't have to announce you're different. Your walk with God does that for you. Your silence is often louder than someone else's shout. People can sense when someone has been in the secret place. They may not be able to explain it, but they feel it. Your presence reminds them of what they've been ignoring. Your consistency reveals their compromise. Your peace disrupts their chaos. And your purity convicts their comfort. This isn't about being better, it's about being set apart. When God marks a life, it leaves a trail. And that trail makes people pay attention whether they want to or not. You may walk in quietly, but the spiritual realm recognizes what you carry. You think you're just showing up at work. But heaven and hell both take notice. You think it's just another family gathering, but the enemy knows a warrior just walked in. You think it's a casual encounter, but your presence is stirring the spiritual climate. Why? Because people may not understand the cost of your walk, but they can't deny the weight of it. You've walked through fire. You've come through storms. You've wrestled with God in the midnight hour, and now you carry authority not just because of what you know, but because of who you've walked with. The world loves noise, but the kingdom recognizes stillness. When you walk with God, you don't need to impress. You just are. And that alone unsettles people who are trying to manufacture what you've cultivated in private. There's a holy weight on you that others can't explain. Some may be drawn to it, others may avoid it, some may celebrate it, others will mock it. But regardless of the reaction, the truth remains. Your presence is powerful because it reflects His. Have you ever noticed how people change when you show up? They straighten up, they censor their words. They start explaining themselves. That's not because you're judging them, it's because your life reminds them they were made for more. It awakens something in them that they've tried to bury, and when that happens, don't shrink back. That's not the time to downplay your fire to make others feel okay about their lukewarmness. That's the time to keep standing, keep shining, keep being unapologetically aligned with God. People aren't uneasy because of your personality. They're uneasy because your purity challenges them. Your discipline calls them higher. Your commitment reveals their distractions. And your peace disturbs their chaos. When you walk in with the oil of God on your life, you bring clarity. And clarity can be uncomfortable to those who've grown used to confusion. You don't need a platform to shift things. You don't need a spotlight to carry influence. All you need is intimacy with God. And when you have that, you walk into every space already carrying the authority of heaven. Hooks, like they don't hate you. They're haunted by what you carry. It's not your volume that shakes the room. It's your alignment with God. Some people are uncomfortable not because you're loud, but because your life exposes silence in their spirit. You don't need a title when you walk with truth. Your presence isn't passive. It's prophetic. Obedience is not a suggestion from heaven. It's a spiritual strategy. It's not just about following rules. It's about unlocking realms. Every time you obey God, you activate something in the supernatural that your natural eyes can't fully comprehend. Most people think obedience is boring, basic, or burdensome, but to those who understand the weight of obedience, it becomes the sharpest weapon in spiritual warfare. Obedience isn't just about what you avoid, it's about what you release. Every yes to God is a no to the enemy. Every time you choose His will over your feelings, you shut down an assignment the enemy tried to plant in your life. The most powerful people in the kingdom are not always the loudest, the flashiest, or the most visible. They are often the ones who obeyed when it made no sense. They trusted when it cost them everything. They stayed planted when they wanted to run. They forgave when their flesh demanded revenge. They walked away from what was familiar so they could walk into what was anointed. Obedience doesn't always feel good, but it always leads to God's best. And when you consistently obey, you confuse hell. The devil is counting on your inconsistency. He's banking on your emotional response. But when you obey despite what you feel, you wage war without even swinging a sword. Some of the most earth-shaking spiritual victories weren't won in public. They were won in private through obedience. When you get up early to pray while others sleep, when you choose purity when no one's watching, when you tithe even when your bills are high, when you speak life instead of gossip, those are all acts of warfare. That's not weakness. That's power. You're tearing down strongholds, shaking spiritual systems, and pushing back the kingdom of darkness with every step of obedience. Don't underestimate the impact of your private decisions. Heaven is watching. Hell is reacting. And your future is being shaped in the tension between obedience and temptation. People often think power comes from preaching, prophesying, or performing. But real power comes from submission. When your heart is fully surrendered to God, you become a vessel He can trust. He doesn't need perfect vessels. He needs obedient ones. The enemy isn't threatened by talent. He's threatened by obedience. That's why temptation always increases when you're on the verge of breakthrough. It's not about the temptation, it's about distracting your obedience. Because your next act of faith might be the one that breaks a generational curse, unlocks your next level, or sets someone else free. Obedience is offensive to a rebellious world. You'll be misunderstood. You'll be mocked. You'll be labeled as too serious, too intense, or too radical. But let them talk. They didn't see the tears you cried in the dark. They didn't feel the weight you've carried. They don't know the voice that called you in the wilderness. So when God speaks, respond. Not for approval, not for validation, but because you've come too far to be casual now. You know what disobedience costs and you refuse to go back. There are doors that talent can't open, but obedience will. There are blessings that hustle can't earn, but surrender will unlock. Your future isn't in the hands of people. It's tied to your response to God. Obey even when it's unpopular. Obey when it's lonely. Obey when it hurts. That obedience becomes your defense. It becomes your breakthrough. It becomes your covering. Looks like your obedience is building what disobedience tried to destroy. Hell doesn't fear talent. It fears the one who obeys when it hurts. Every obedient step confuses the enemy's map. You don't need applause when you have alignment. Obedience in secret leads to power in public. Rejection often feels personal, but when you walk with God, it's rarely about you. It's about what you carry. You thought they pulled away because of something you did. But what really happened is your obedience irritated their compromise. Your faith revealed their fear. Your discipline challenged their comfort. You didn't set out to make anyone uncomfortable. But the light on your life naturally exposes what others have worked hard to keep in the dark. Rejection isn't always an attack. It's often a reaction to the presence of God in you. And instead of taking it as a sign to shrink, you need to start seeing it as confirmation that you're walking in divine alignment. People aren't always rejecting you, they're rejecting the weight of the call on your life. When you carry the anointing, people sense it before you speak a word. There's something about your presence, your standards, your refusal to settle, your unwillingness to compromise. Those things highlight what they've buried. And when they can't explain it, they distance themselves, they criticize, they mislabel, they assume your confidence is arrogance, your conviction is judgment, your clarity is pride. But what they're really wrestling with isn't your personality, it's the presence you carry that convicts their passivity. When God elevates you, separation is inevitable. Not everyone can handle the next level. Not everyone is equipped to walk with you into your assignment. Some were only assigned to your past season, not your purpose. You tried to take them with you, tried to explain your growth, tried to carry their weight. But the truth is, rejection was God's way of releasing you. There's a version of you that can't emerge until you stop chasing acceptance from people who were never called to understand your mission. Rejection refines your focus. It detaches you from distractions. It pushes you deeper into the presence of God. Many of your greatest seasons of growth won't come surrounded by applause. They'll come wrapped in isolation. You'll find yourself wondering why you suddenly feel left out, overlooked, dismissed. But that's where God often does his greatest work. That's where he trains your hands for war and your heart for worship. In the place where they left you, he lifts you. In the place where they forgot you, he forges you. You're not forgotten. You're being formed. And the very ones who rejected you now will one day have to recognize the grace on your life. Rejection isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your becoming. God never wastes pain. Every no, every closed door, every silent season, every person who turned their back on you, it's all part of the process. And here's the truth. If they could see what God sees in you, they would have never walked away. But God allowed them to leave so he could show you who he is without them. You were never meant to be dependent on people's opinions when you were destined to carry divine purpose. You keep asking why they left. But what if the better question is, what did their leaving unlock in you? What strength did it awaken? What prayer life did it birth? What fire did it ignite? The rejection wasn't a curse, it was a catalyst. It moved you. It matured you. It made you dangerous to the enemy. Because now you're no longer walking for validation. You're walking in revelation. And that's when you become unstoppable. Hook's like they didn't walk away from you. They walked away from what they couldn't carry. You're not being rejected. You're being protected and positioned. Rejection didn't break you. It revealed who you really are. Isolation isn't punishment. It's preparation for promotion. God's yes always outweighs man's no. You were not called to fit in. You were chosen to stand out from the beginning. God set you apart. He didn't anoint you so you could blend into the background. He didn't fill you with his spirit so you could live according to culture's trends and man's expectation. You weren't created to mimic what the world calls normal. You were created to reflect what the kingdom calls holy. That means your language will be different. Your mindset will be different. Your decisions, your relationships, your goals, all of it will carry a heavenly fingerprint that makes you undeniably distinct. Standing out isn't about being loud or drawing attention to yourself. It's about living in such alignment with God that people can't ignore what's on your life. The truth is, when you're chosen, you'll always be noticed, not because you're flashy, but because the glory you carry makes you visible in spiritual places. You can try to hide, you can try to water yourself down, but chosen people always stand out. even in silence. It's not your personality that draws the weight of attention, it's your purpose. It's your purity. It's your refusal to compromise in a culture addicted to convenience. Fitting in might feel safe, but it will cost you destiny. Too many people abort their assignment for the sake of acceptance. They dull their edge so they won't offend. They lower their standards so they won't stand alone. But here's the truth. The favor on your life won't allow you to be average. The call on your life will not let you settle. God didn't breathe on you so you could become a cheap copy of something you were never meant to be. There's a blueprint in heaven with your name on it. And every time you choose to stand out, you're building according to that divine design. Standing out is costly. It's uncomfortable. You won't always be invited to the table. You won't always be understood. But being set apart isn't punishment, it's preparation. God is training you for a level that others won't understand. He's protecting the oil on your life from unnecessary contamination. Some of the isolation you feel isn't the enemy, it's God preserving what he's building in you. When you're chosen, he hides you until the appointed time. He disconnects you from distractions. He removes what's draining you. Not because you're forgotten, but because you're being formed for something greater than fitting in. There will always be pressure to conform. You'll feel it in your workplace, in your friend circles, even in religious environments. But the call to be holy, to be set apart, means you must choose the narrow road over the popular one. You have to walk in truth when others settle for trends. You have to carry conviction when compromise is easy. And you do it not to impress people, but to honor the one who chose you when no one else saw your value. When God marks you, you become allergic to average. What satisfies others won't satisfy you. What fulfills them will feel empty to you. That's not something to fight, it's something to embrace. You were born to disrupt, not duplicate. You were designed to pioneer, not mimic. The weight you feel is the responsibility of being called. The moment you stop trying to fit in is the moment you'll start walking in real freedom. God didn't create you to fit into a mold. He created you to break the mold, to shift atmospheres, to carry his fire where others are content with smoke. Hooks like, you weren't saved to be subtle. You were anointed to be set apart. You're not too much. They're just not used to the presence you carry. Fitting in is cheap. Purpose costs. God didn't call you to be liked. He called you to be light. The oil on your life won't let you settle for normal. The fire on your life will attract both favor and friction. When God lights a fire in you, it becomes impossible to remain unnoticed. People will either be drawn to your flame or uncomfortable around your heat. That's the reality of walking in divine purpose. Your anointing isn't neutral. It carries a temperature that reveals the spiritual climate of those around you. Some will celebrate the fire because it warms them. Others will avoid it because it exposes them. But one thing is for sure, when you burn with passion for God, you will not go unnoticed. People are intrigued by fire until it gets too close. They love the light it gives off, but struggle with the intensity it brings. The fire represents the presence of God, the power of obedience, the mark of holiness, and the cost of your calling. It comes from seasons of sacrifice, nights of prayer, and moments of surrender. You didn't wake up with this fire. It was forged in the furnace. That's why some people can't handle it. They want your fruit without your fire. They want your anointing without your altar. But what they don't realize is that this fire was born from pain, refined through trials, and sustained by unwavering obedience. The favor on your life draws attention. It opens doors. It brings opportunities. It causes people to notice you, to respect you, and even to admire you. But the same fire that brings favor also brings friction. Jealousy, criticism, and misunderstanding are often the price of being on fire for God. Don't be surprised when people start acting different. Don't be discouraged when those you once walked with begin to withdraw. It's not always personal, it's spiritual. The fire in you is revealing what's dormant in them. Your passion exposes their complacency. Your consistency highlights their instability. And your pursuit of God convicts their comfort. Some people aren't fighting you. They're fighting the fire in you. They can't handle the heat you carry because it reminds them of the flames they've let go out. You're not better than them, but you're burning in a way they've forgotten how to. That fire unsettles lukewarm spirits. It confronts casual Christianity. It makes excuses evaporate, and that's why friction shows up. Not because you've done something wrong, but because you've chosen to burn when others have chosen to blend in. You have to understand that your fire wasn't meant to make you popular. It was meant to make you powerful. Favor may get you in the room, but fire is what shifts the room. The kind of fire that comes from deep intimacy with God doesn't just light you up, it sets things around you ablaze. Wherever you go, people will sense it. Environments will change. Strongholds will tremble. Not because of who you are, but because of the fire that rests on you. That's why some doors close. That's why certain relationships fade. That's why the warfare increases. Because fire doesn't blend, fire burns. Don't let the friction make you question your fire. You weren't meant to be lukewarm to make others feel better. You weren't called to tone down your fire to be more palatable. God didn't ignite you to fit in. He ignited you to set a standard. And yes, it will cost you. Yes, it will get lonely. Yes, you will feel misunderstood. But the same fire that isolates also elevates. The same flame that repels some people will attract the right ones. Kingdom connections are forged in fire. Divine alignment happens when you refuse to dim your flame for comfort. Hooks like, don't apologize for the fire they refuse to fight for. You weren't set on fire to keep people warm, you were lit to shift atmosphere. The fire in you irritates the complacency in them. Favor draws them, but fire reveals them. Your flame will either fuel someone or expose what they're hiding. You don't walk alone, you walk with heaven's backing. That truth right there should shift your entire posture. You're not moving through life hoping someone shows up to help. You're walking with the full authority of the one who created the universe. You're not outnumbered. You're not unprotected. You are not vulnerable in the way the enemy wants you to believe. You are surrounded. You are covered. You are carrying a divine escort into every battle, every room, every conversation, every assignment. The power of God is not a distant hope. It's a present reality, walking right beside you. When you walk with God, it may feel like you're walking alone, but the spiritual reality tells a different story. Just because your support system isn't visible doesn't mean it isn't powerful. The God who backed David against Goliath, the same God who walked with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fire, the same God who stood with Daniel in the lion's den, that's who walks with you. He hasn't changed. His power hasn't faded. His presence hasn't weakened. You don't just walk with promises, you walk with presence. And that presence changes everything. That presence breaks fear. It confronts anxiety. It silences insecurity. Because when you understand who walks with you, you stop begging for people to stand by you. You stop trying to earn loyalty from people who don't even have the capacity to walk in your shoes. You stop compromising just to keep someone from leaving. Because now you know, now you're convinced, now you've seen too much, experienced too much, cried too many nights to still doubt the God who walks with you. The walk may be lonely, but it's never empty. People may leave, platforms may shift, opportunities may dry up, but the presence of God, that's the constant, that's the anchor, that's the covering that goes before you to prepare the way and stands behind you to catch what tries to crush you. Heaven's backing means the weight you're carrying is not being carried alone. It means when you're weak, grace steps in. When you're tired, strength is renewed. When you're surrounded by opposition, angelic armies stand guard. Heaven's backing also means authority. You're not walking timidly into your assignment. You're walking with spiritual confidence, not because of who you are, but because of who sent you. When God assigns you, He anoints you, and when He anoints you, He equips you. You don't need the approval of man when you have the commission of heaven. You don't need to fear rejection when you've already been chosen. Every step you take is under the weight of divine endorsement. Even when it's hard, even when it's slow,